Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Antonio.
Morning, Ola. So, welcome, everybody. For those of you that can be new to these meetings, we are going to share during today's sessions ideas, information, and if possible, even solutions related to the analysis of disruptions in the retail ecosystem. We try to divide the sessions in 3 blocks. Okay, during the first one, we share the conceptual framework, the main ideas. Okay, during the second, we try to identify the disruptions and needs. During the third one, the potential solutions. That's the suggestion, but we will be flexible. What is important is to be brief in our speeches, to go to the point, and to be productive too. So I would like to give time to speak to every one of you. Everyone can act some knowledge. So if we try to keep to the rule of maximum 3 minutes per person, we could have more opportunities to hear everybody. Today we are speaking about retail. Retail is one of the 14 industrial ecosystem that we are working with in these sessions. Here the description is retail sales and wholesale connected to consumers. So we had a session about these local businesses some weeks ago. I think probably it's only 2 weeks ago, and we start thinking about that. Now we are going deeper on that. I hope to have a better understanding today of what is critical. We know that the closure of the shops is creating big problems between the owners and the investor on them. Okay, but we need to go deeper on that. And what is really critical for today is to find what kind of main disruptions could make more difficult for them to recover and to return to the new normality, and how can we solve then if possible. Okay, so this is the proposal. I will not speak more because I'm not an expert in retail. So I will invite whoever wants to start to share his expertise, his knowledge on that, or her. Sorry. So who is the first? I know that I can always trust in Aurora to open the fire.
Good morning. You know, my past as consultant puts me in every sector, so but I'm not expert. Anyway, I would divide our approach in large retail and small and medium or even traditional retailers. Only for dividing problems, because they're different for sure. And also I divide those that never closed, like food retailers, from the others that have been closed. I'm sure problems are different. And that's all I know. Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you, Aurora. Do we have here any cluster that is or company that is expert on that field? I hope we have. Ramon, do you know cluster experts on retail here in Spain? Or should we speak more about, like in your case, how distribution is related to?
In our case, good morning, Antonio. The approach is related to all the supply chain in retail, and the problems, as you know, is related with the correct function of the whole supply chain, because there are a lot of companies involved in this chain, and there are a lot the biggest disruption, as well Aurora said, is there are companies that stop the activities for the crisis, and right now we have to restart the activity, and probably there are companies that no longer are going to work, because there are a lot of transport companies involved in this issue that during the crisis have to change the activity to other chain, mainly food. Another one, they are going to have they have a lot of liquidity problems, and I think it's the biggest problem that we have right now in this sector. We have to react. And the other thing that there are a very big problem in retail. You know, all of those companies that have to stop the activity, they have to and they have a lot of stock because they have stopped the activity, and they have to have a lot of warehouses with more stock that they expected to have, and it was very expensive to them. Because they are not, they don't have I'm sorry, they don't have expected to do. I'm sorry, because I don't have prepared the speech, Antonio. But the issue, but if you want, let me to have a reflection of the problem. I have to explain to you, because in our, not in CITED, but in CEL, we have a lot of retailers in our company, in our association, and the main problem are that the problem with the warehouses, because they have plenty of stock right now. The problem with the suppliers, the problem with the supply chain, because they don't have probably the resources to fulfill the orders that they have to fulfill in the next days. The problem with the change of the channel, because they have probably the e-commerce channel have increased by 2, and they have to be prepared to that. And this is a very big problem, because not all the retailers have this channel. They are ready to work by this channel. And for the moment, I think the problems, and we have to see what are happening in the next few days, because when all the retailers are going to back to normality, and they're going to to fight to all these problems together.
Thank you, Ramon.
Yeah.
Anybody else that want to share the knowledge, expertise, the reference?
Antonio, I want to say something that is a little bit different, but it's very important here in Portugal. That is the financial question. The Association of the Portuguese Banks made recently an inquiry concerning the sectors that were more problematic in terms of financial stability and financial conditions, and the retail was one of them. Because of they have been closed all this time. The large shoppings will here in Portugal open only on the 1st of June. And the idea is that most of them will not have capacity to sustain their situation in the future. So the financial question, I think, will be a context reason that will influence in most of the retail in the future.
Thank you, Jaime. So, disruptions, because I understand that we know about the general situation. What kind of disruption would you identify? I mean, we know that the lack of financing or funding to support the situation will be a disruption. That's very clear. That's no news, I think, unfortunately. But which other disruption will you identify? Ramon mentioned the logistics problems. There is a disruption, I understand, related to the lack of capability of a big percentage of the retail sector to sell through internet in an effective way. Probably they have a website, but the point is to be competitive in internet. I think that's for me it's a clear disruption. Unfortunately, as far as I know, we don't have real data. I don't know if somebody has updated data on that point. Okay.
Antonio, I think it depends on the type of materials they sell, and also if they're more local in terms of the public they serve, or more global. Those that are local, they need their population. If they close, if they don't reopen, that will be maybe a proximity and social economy problem. So they touch the other ecosystem that is next. They also touch the transportation, because if you have less points to furnish, you need less transportation, so that may cause problems, continuity problems in other sectors. But I agree with Veronica, maybe trade alliances or trade associations are better prepared than us.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. It's Vasco speaking. There is also one difficulty, at least that I feel around me. That's the problem of the schools and kindergartens. So the children are still at home, and that means that parents have to stay with them. So they, in some cases, they are not able to go to work. So this is a related, a side issue, but is an important issue, I think. And that's not only to retail, in fact.
I totally agree. Veronica is pointing something that is very true. There is a need for safety measures in the small shops and the big shops. That means that they need to sanitize the SSOs or whatever they are selling. And perhaps they don't have the means, or the technology is not well prepared or is expensive. Rosa, would you comment? Rosa Castizo?
Well, I think it's not so. It's so obvious that I don't want to to disturb. But is the main distraction for me is basically that we have to be more local and less global, and it is for every sector, and it's a whole issue, no? How to transform the market and how to transform our industries to be more local, no, based.
I don't know, because perhaps the solution is to be more global in the selling of it depends. If you go to internet, sometimes one strategy will be to sell locally, but why not globally? It's a challenge, Rosa, sorry.
No, because at the end, all the transportation, as we have shown in this crisis, at the end, the more resilient products were the ones that were produced locally, no? And taking into account that it can happen, no? Again, and we have to be prepared. We really have to think more locally, no? In these terms, I feel.
Are you connecting the retail sector in some way with your activities or not, Rosa? Rosa is working in Frena la Curva, for those of you that doesn't know. It's a social, I will not say association, movement.
Yeah. And yeah, connecting so far we did a little bit of that, but depends on the country, because now we are in 20 countries, so depends on the country. Really, people need to connect, as you said, no? In this point, no? So depend on the country. In Spain, not so much.
Thank you, Rosa. Anybody else will share?
Antonio, it's Veronica. Just to comment the last message that I posted on the chat, because once again, I think that, of course, COVID is creating and pushing the need for trust. Okay, because when I say that, of course, the shops have to guarantee sanitizing of dresses, and consider that among my members, there is one that manufactures UV lights for sanitizing. And what I say to them, because they are now testing how much, the reaction in terms of preserving the material that you are treating, how many treatments can address accept before it changes color, or it changes other qualities. Okay, and what I say to them as consumer is that if I go to buy a dress, I don't know if I trust the person saying me, I have already sanitized this dress after last customer. Maybe, and for sure it did, but I would like to have this done before my eyes. And so now we are trying the double number of treatments, okay, on shoes, on dresses, and so on, with UV sanitizers. To see the results, okay? But this, at the end, is about trust. So whatever you are selling, And if you are selling something that I have to touch, that I have to wear, trust is key. And maybe we are more ready to give our trust to people we know, to shops we know. So here, at least, the current trend, as I said also some weeks ago, is that local shops are regaining market share, because not only because they are near. Okay, in the first phase, we could only reach shops at by 200 meters from home, so it was compulsory. But also now there is, it seems, at least in my community, rather preference to stay local and to remain local and to give trust and to give a new chance in this also for recovery from this situation to the smaller shops, and instead of the big leaders that have more possibilities also under the financial point of view. This is not a disruption, but maybe it is a disruption in the sense of not a disruption in the supply chain, but a possible disruption in the value chain, because we are maybe shifting our targets, the kind of shops where we want to buy. Just this.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Grazie mille, Veronica. More comments? I am seeing the list of clusters that I have classified as in this sector. It could be that the classification is not very good because the definition of the sectors are not so good. Okay, in my mind, sorry, because we don't have all the details. I have 54, and most of them are working on furniture, footwear. There is a lot of furniture, constructions, some in electronics. Yeah, that's the main composition of work of the cluster that are working, as far as I understood, in this area. It means it's true that we don't have the last mile. Sorry, the shops that are selling the products. Okay, we clusters are more in the industry that create the products that they sell. Okay. Is there anyone from that area here? No. So that means that we haven't convocated. We need to work on that. There are a lot of furniture clustering. Will furniture be including in other sector? Will they see themselves in other sector? Probably yes. But I don't see where in those 14 ecosystems. Are they going to be affected by this stop in the selling channel? I think so.
One of the main reasons maybe furniture will slow down is that weddings have stopped. People could not do those parties for celebrating, so there was a lot of postponing on weddings, and postponing on weddings means postponing on new houses, and furniture is one of the items.
Yeah. Will they be related to construction? But not exactly. Or yes? Probably yes. No.
It will be in both, at least, I think, in construction, and depends a little bit of the shop. For instance, IKEA will be in retail also, not only in construction. But so it will be a mixture of those, at least.
Okay. Okay. Christophe, welcome. How is the situation in Poland? I see that Christophe is there, but he doesn't seem to be hearing me. Okay. So the summarizing, we have not here. We don't have here the main actors of this ecosystem that is clear. So perhaps we should redefine the session with the real actor. That could be the trade association. That's also clear. We need to think about that. Okay. There is not a clear disruption that is not very well known. We know about the problem with the funding. We know about the problem with the selling through internet, and we know of the need for safety measures in the shops. Okay, we can do different things. We could close the session because we don't have enough information, or we could think about how the ecosystem, the innovative ecosystem, that is what we are representing here, can help them. Okay, we could jump to the solution side. It will be my approach. Okay, but what is my proposal to you? Okay, what kind of support could we give to them? Okay, so for me, for example, it's clear that cluster or the innovations ecosystems, innovative ecosystems could help in the creation of trust, okay, through the research or development of technologies, I don't know, solutions that if possible in a quick way to be implemented and not so expensive way also, could help the population to gain that trust on the shops. Okay, mainly in those that are more sensible, because if we are speaking about selling furniture, I understand that the problems are different. Okay, but selling footwear or clothes is far more delicate. Okay, would you comment on that?
And food, Antonio. I think the trust has to be really, really strong on buying food. For instance, during these days, when we were able to go to shops, I always preferred those that have a sanitization of hands at the door, because everyone is compulsory forced to clean their hands. So if they touch the lettuces or the carrots, I know that they have their hands clean. In other places where this rule was not applied, I don't know who touches the food, so I don't trust that food for me.
We have been speaking about the possibility to create some kind of COVID-19 free certification. That could be a way to advance.
Yes, Antonio, you are talking maybe about the connection between the agro-food ecosystem and the retail ecosystem. So we are talking about the food retailers. And this, of course, is interesting. I can share my little experience in the local development area where the commerce are so well managed by the trade associations, but in this context, a way that clusters and local development agency and other facilitator can help is always a governance competence, because the dialogue between the public and private always face difficulties in defining long-term vision and developing projects that now that have a real impact in the territory. Interesting also how also connecting projects and public intervention to an attractiveness point of view of the territory. So linking also, for example, to the main value chain, the main meanings that one territory can offer to the international scenario.
Thank you, Hilaria.
And also the culture. I'm 60, so I remember the time where each person made everything for themselves. Everything was customized and and personal. And then the evolution of the market, at least in Portugal, was everyone willing to wear brands and to buy brands. And that has driven the market to the large brands that were everywhere. And when we get in a mall, we have always the same brands, the same shops everywhere. And I think this crisis gave confidence to people that they may be different and customize again. For instance, myself at home, I cut my hair. I was so full of my long hair that I cut myself. And lots of people are creating their own masks, and there are works doing at home. I don't know if this will change, but maybe yes.
There could be a cultural shift from the global to the local, or to the made by yourself, made by
Yes, but we have to think that that happened also because people were at home, confined, so they had time. They had time, like a long time ago, people were staying more at home and did more things in a more personal way, where they do that customized clothes. But we have to think that people are going back to their works, they are going back to their lives, and they're not going to have all that time on their hands. I think that we have to think that we have to make people gain trust on commerce, on going to their lives again, when they're buying, when they're doing their casual things. People now still are afraid to go to a restaurant or go to a coffee shop or go buying clothes. And we have to create a strategy where they feel safe, where they know they are going there and they feel safe. In Portugal, we have the Safe and Clean for tourism. It's a stamp where tourism and everybody related to tourism can apply. And when people want to go somewhere and go to a hotel and they find that stamp, they know that everything is all right, it's safe to go there, and people have trust. Maybe we can find something related to that for commerce, like little shops. We have minimums that they have to respond to and they have to guarantee so that people know they are safe when they go inside and do their shops and buy and use the services. I don't know if that's possible to expand something like that to other services and other commerce. But I think people would gain trust and will return to that normality on buying and using services.
Antonio, could I come in?
Then you will be very welcome.
I just want to highlight one thing when we look at the ecosystems, because the small and particularly like hairdressers and very small businesses, they are part of the ecosystem proximity and social economy. And that is just for your information, because it's not always very clear which NACE code has been used for which ecosystem. So just as a background, the proximity, so particularly the very small shops, this is in this ecosystem proximity and social economy. So, but of course, the discussions you are having there is then also very useful for this other ecosystem.
So
Thanks.
retail will be composed by who? Sorry, could you?
The proximity and social economy.
No, the retail ecosystem. Sorry, Ula.
Yeah, it is quite complex, because as you can imagine, when the different ecosystems have been constructed by the different colleagues, there's a lot of discussion because you have overlaps between the different ecosystems. And so there was a long ongoing negotiation, or there is still in some areas, and that's why it's also not yet published in detail, who goes where, because what the commissioner wanted to avoid is, of course, double counting. And therefore, for retail, I don't know exactly which are the codes which have been used, because, as I said, it's not yet 100% clear for every ecosystem. But I know it because on the proximity and social economy we are working, and that's why I know that the little shops are in the proximity economy.
Thank you very much, Ula. I am seeing in our database, sorry, I cannot share it now, that there is a strong relationship between what we call, I could be wrong, okay, what we call retail and the creative industries. And that it makes sense, because to compete, I understand that to create new products, new service, to be original is key at this moment. I think that it makes sense. Sorry.
Only to say that in which concerns this relation with the creative industries and retail, I read a very interesting article in the McKinsey last week, and one of the points that was stressed is that in order to guarantee that most of the small shoppings can survive, it's important that they can have the support of people that are very creative in order to have new solutions and new products that can be consumed by the clients. So I think this is a very good experience, even in the future organization of the retail and of the classes.
I will say that this is clearly an area where we can work, creative industries, because yeah, in that area we have a lot of references. and it will make sense to help the retail through helping them to reinvent or redesign or rethink their business models, the product, the services. At least for me.
Antonio, this is Ramon again. I think perhaps one of the ways the small and big retailers are reacting to the new reality is trying to sell by e-commerce. But I think it's very important point, because to readapt your selling through internet is not only an issue of having a web. The problem is the logistics and the impact in the last mile delivery and the sustainability. And I have this very important to work on, because if we have a big increase in this channel, all the cities in Europe are going to have a problem, because for delivering the same products, you need more transport. And we have to create creative solution for doing that. As you remember, we have a session 2 weeks ago talking about that. And it's very important to support these new solutions in logistic way, because this kind of distribution have a lot of impact in the cities, and probably is the way, as well you know, or we are in this in this session, we know that during the crisis we have increases by 2, by 5, by 3, even by 5 the amount of selling by each e-commerce channel, and probably is going to be structural at least by 2 in a lot of countries. And we have a problem with the last mile delivery, and also that the logistics of that. And a lot of companies, mainly the small retailers, are not prepared to that, because the logistics are completely different. And we need a way of preparing the orders. There are a lot of things that have to change to adapt to this way of selling. And the other thing related also with the hygienics of the product is the reverse logistics. The reverse logistics, that is a very important point that are going to affect the commerce in totality, because right now you can get back a product without any problem. And right now, with in this new situation, this thing is a very headache for the sellers, because they don't know how to do with these products, or they have to clean it, and how to put to sell again. And for that, you need the seller need to increase the cost for doing that, because the law allows the customers to get back the product. And I have to include to put this to reflection to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramon. Very good reflections. Comments on that? Because Ramon, I remember that you shared that there were a lot of small businesses in logistics that were stopped. Okay, so that means that the bigger ones are growing.
No, but I think our approach always is from the supply chain perspective. We have the different supply chains in retail, because we are selling a lot of things, and one of them are in a vertical way, but the majority are horizontal. You can sell. There are a lot of web sellers. The problem is that since there are several chains that are stopped, there are any agents that are stopped, and they cannot exchange to other sector. This is the issue, because the agents that can change to other sectors, sorry, they are still working. And right now, one of the things that is possible to happen is how they come back to their original sector, and they are going to fight between the sectors to recover the suppliers. mainly in the transport. But the issue is that there are not bigger or smaller. There are the issue is if you are specialized in one sector or other, and you can during the crisis you can go through the sector that demand your activities. And the majority of these companies are very small companies. Distributors, there are transport companies. They have this problem. And the other that I pointed at the beginning of the speech is the problem. The majority of the retailers have a lot of stock, and they have their warehouses full of merchandise that they have to get out. For the moment, they have a lot of cost to keep these stocks. We have right now, at least in Spain, a lot of warehouses full of stocks that they are going to get out, and they don't know how to
sell.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ramon.
The last point, I think the retail problem, one of the most important, the most way of understanding it is through the supply chain, because all that happened in the last slave of the supply chain is the retail, but there are a lot of companies involved in this supply chain.
This is possibly the best approach to them, possibly, yeah. Okay, so what kind of innovative solution could we give them?
If I can say something, again, dealing on top of the things that Ramon said, very interesting. Also in the logistic, we have to take into account that only like a couple of months before that, there started like a great Green Deal in Europe. That basically is looking at all the footprint, no, of the merchandise and everything that have to be distributed, and it's gonna be like little by little stronger on that, no. So also in terms of logistics, we have to see a lot that this kind of laws that is gonna be applied in the whole Europe can have a strong point, no, on how to order the new system, no, and also reflecting on your last comment, Antonio, about solutions. I would like to ask if there are some movements or some answers about possibilities of changing some kind of products to other, like rebuild the system in some way, not to try to adapt to the new scenario. Thank you.
You mean making the products more local or natural?
Yes, or people that are rethinking what they are producing, basically, to try to adapt to the new demand. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you. Yeah.
Some sectors may be in worse situation, like clothing, because when COVID started, so when they closed their operations, they were offering winter articles, and now they need to resupply to have the summer articles.
Yeah, I think that the problem in that in that specific sector is that usually they are starting now to produce the next winter, or at least plan to produce. The problem is that there is no a clear idea of what's going to happen next winter, because there are a lot of experts and the medical staff that say that there is a high possibility of new confinements or new rebounds of the virus during the next winter. So there is uncertainty on the next months. That will be also very, very critical for those that are depending of the seasons, as far as I know. I don't know if you have information about that, but that's something that I have has been commented in our cluster, because we have some people working on that area. So it's difficult now to plan, not only to sell what they haven't sold before, but also to plan for the next seasons. And they should be working on that now. And there is also a problem with the import of materials and goods from other countries, as Morocco, from Spain, or Asia, those that make this kind of products there. So that will be related to the possibility to forecast what will be the next steps in the prices and the measure to be taken on during the last half of the year or beginning next year, until we have a general vaccine for everybody. That could be a disruption.
And this, Antonio, as well as we said previously, the problem of retail is a supply chain disruption at all. And is the issue that I think. The companies that are preparing for that are implementing a planning system under uncertainty. Majority of them based on artificial intelligence. During the crisis, all the companies that have this kind of systems respond better than others. And probably it is one of the solutions that they can implement to this point. And I think for sure, one of the things that is going to happen for sure is the transition of channel, because the e-commerce is more resilient for this situation. And I think a lot of retailers are looking for the solution to start selling in this channel. And in this way, as well as you know, in the previous session, we proposed several solutions to improve the distribution in this channel. It was the creation of standards of identification of parcels, and also to create other collaborative solutions to deliver the products. And I think this is a point that we have to work on, because for sure this is going to be happen and affect to all the cities in Europe.
Could you explain about the collaborative distribution?
Yes, of course. The issue is that right now in this channel, the situation is different in different countries in Europe, because the congestion of cities are different or are caused by different actors. But I can talk about the situation in Spain, and we have a very congested cities in transport of freights, and the majority of them are related to, in Spain at least, are related to Oreca. By the moment, just previously to the crisis, every 4 deliveries that we have in the city was from Oreca, and one of them from e-commerce, and the other 5 or other things. That are the figures. And the issue, we have already congested cities, and if we multiply by 2 or by 3 the e-commerce deliveries, the problem is going to be bigger. And the issue is that we have to create solutions in this last mile that make that there are a lot of vans that are practically empty because we have a lot of service and level of service that we are going to deliver your freight or your parcel at a watt hour in your street. And for that, there are a lot of companies sending a lot of ones that are practically empty. The issue is how we can do to solve that. And for that, we need to implement different solutions to collaborate. And there are several ways. The first one is the standard identification of the parcel, because we have operative problems to exchange the parcel between the carriers, because each of them, this is a problem that we have across Europe, there are not a standard in the parcel identification. And it's very, very complicated to exchange between them the parcels. This is the first thing. The second thing is create a point of consolidation, like urban hubs. And here the problem is to the governance of the hubs. By the moment, there are not any success history in Europe that these hubs are working properly. The issue is we have studied that, and we think that is a problem of governance of these hubs. And we have to work about this governance. And the other thing is to, once we have standard identification of the parcel, we can go through these hubs. The last yard, not the last mile, the last yard. We can implement new solutions to deliver, like the lockers, or point of convenience, or more sustainability, warehouse delivery, like people walking or something like that, but always with the thing in the mind that we have to make it more sustainable and more at the same time that we are profitable. And this is the several solutions, but the issue is how to incentive the companies to use these ways, because on the other hand, we were going to collapse the cities. I don't know if I will explain it, but there are a lot of technology behind that that allows this collaboration.
So, yeah, for me it's clear at least, and it's really interesting. Is there any prototype on those urban hubs?
Yes, there are. Right now, there are in Europe. There are a lot of companies that are running urban hubs. The issue that are not general. Then these hubs is not working for all the carriers. And we are trying to create right now in Spain a new model to try to create a new model of governance that incentive all the carriers to use that. This is the problem is the property. The problem is the company that is handling the hub. That the problem is to make it profitable. There are several issues that are not are doing that they are not working. In other case, the problem is not have selected the correct product to go through the hub, and we are working right now on that. We are working with the Madrid mayor in this way. We are working with them in the last 2 years to try to propose the success way of working for these urban hubs in terms of governance and in terms of working profitable.
That will have a big impact in the low carbon, in the carbon consumption, in the sustainability of the I don't know in English. Yeah.
For sure, it has a lot of impact on sustainability of the cities and the use of
carbon,
and yes, and alternative vehicles. Impact a lot.
Contamination in the contamination.
Yes.
Yeah, I am totally sure.
Of air.
Yeah, because.
Or drones.
Sorry.
Maybe drones. Maybe drones.
Drones at the very short time is not possible to use in deliver. Probably drones, but by ground, no flying drones. But it's very complicated. Drones are already used. We are using that for to deliver things in villas in the far of the mountain, but no more. By the moment, it's not possible to use that, and we think that is not going to be the solution. Just a general solution, just for
not in short time.
In medium term also, because there are a lot of security issues related with the drones in the cities.
Okay, very interesting. We need to think about that. So you have today's post in the ECCP Forum in the screen. Elisa has shared the link, and you are invited to continue on the dialogue there. It's clear that we need, if we want to go deeper in this area, we need to extend our reach to those that are directly working on it. Okay, that's very clear. But for me, as a summary, I will say that to create trust in the consumer is critical. If we will be able from the cluster side to help, it should be through this kind of standardization or global movements, for sure from the a better management of the supply chain, and for the creativity. From the creativity, I think it's very interesting, the question between the how to balance global and local, and how to improve the internet capabilities of the smaller shops. Yeah, everything is very interesting. Tomorrow we are going to speak about sorry, because I need to check it, just one moment, about low carbon energy intensive industries. I'm sure that we will have more clusters involved on that. Okay, so I have to see you tomorrow, and have a very good Monday. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.